We have a trade to announce. The Dallas Stars have acquired defenseman Jeremie Poirier from the Calgary Flames in exchange for Gavin White. Poirier will be assigned to the Texas Stars. Now, obviously, this is a minor league deal. It is a swappage of two AHL defensemen, but there is a lot to talk about with Jeremie Poirier. And this is a name who is a big blast to the past for me as a guy who covered prospects on this YouTube channel once upon a time, because Jeremie Poirier, back in 2020, was seen as a very dynamic offensive defenseman, a guy who had some really big defensive questions, but was still ranked to go as high as 26th overall by some scouting outlets, 22nd by Craig Button. He was seen as a primary offensive mover who uses the boards, teammates, and deception to create breakouts with relative ease. While carrying the puck to the neutral zone, Poirier wields the dotted line to shift defenders from his path and attacks on an arc as he transitions play into the offensive zone. He's a pretty crafty stick handler too, and can occasionally take the puck into high-danger areas himself. In fact, the Elite Prospects Scouting Report Guide said that Poirier was the best offensive defenseman in the 2020 draft, with an 8 out of 10 puck handling skill, 6 out of 10 hockey sense, and a 7 out of 10 passing rating. He was ranked as a grade A prospect by Elite Prospects. And in a draft where you had guys like Jake Sanderson, for example, and Jamie Drysdale, the fact that Jeremie Poirier was ranked by Elite Prospects as the #1 offensive D-man is pretty significant. He was able to take those offensive skills to greater heights past the QMJHL, as in his previous seasons in Calgary, the guy was producing like crazy in the AHL. 41 points in 69 games in his first season, 13 points in 23 games the next, and then 42 points in 71 games last year. It was a really good couple of years for Jeremie Poirier with the Calgary Wranglers. But as you can see already, this guy wasn't really doing much of that this season. 6 points, 35 games played. There were other Wranglers defensemen that got called up and used sooner in the National Hockey League. The one that comes to my mind right away is Hunter Brustevich, who was able to produce a decent amount in previous years. Daniil Miramanov is a defenseman and a forward. So there you go, pretty big difference of talent over there. And so Poirier getting sent over to Dallas, change of scenery type move. It's not surprising to me to see this guy who was on such a heater in prior AHL seasons and who has now declined head over to a brand new organization. The Dallas Stars, they have some pretty good work they've done with defensemen in the past, so I wonder what they're going to be able to do with Poirier. Meanwhile, heading over to the Calgary Flames, you have Gavin White, a 23-year-old right-handed defenseman, 6 feet 196. Poirier, by the way, same age, 23 years old, 6'1", 190, left-handed defenseman. But Gavin White is not the same offensive profile that Poirier is and was. White was drafted 4th round 2022, 115th overall by Dallas. And while it's true he did have some decent OHL production, he didn't really have the same heights in the AHL that Poirier did. Gavin White had 11 points in 46 games played last year, and also 3 games in the ECHL. This year, he's gotten himself 5 points in 23 games with Texas, so hopefully the change of scenery for him in Calgary is going to be able to boost some sort of an offensive spark as well. With all this in mind, though, let's head over to the different subreddits of both of these teams and just read what fans of the Stars and the Flames have to say about this move. Here's the Calgary Flames subreddit. Jeremie Poirier, goodbye. Gavin White, hello. That's not Kadri for Robertson? Okay. Yeah, I don't know if that was ever really going to happen. Copy and paste what I said in our hockey. It seems like Gavin White is a little more of a shutdown guy, while Poirier is a little more offensive. With Zane Parekh, Hunter Brustevich, and Muse, Poirier just slid way too far down the depth chart to ever be able to make the team. White is unlikely to make it either, but I think it fills a little more of an organizational need. The only thing that doesn't really make sense is that White is another right-handed D. It's like Conroy wants to make sure the Flames have every right-handed defenseman in the world under contract. The bigger problem is that Poirier was never going to be solid enough defensively to be trusted with NHL minutes. White, being more of a shutdown guy, may have more of a path to the NHL in this organization. And then another reply says Poirier shouldn't even be trusted with AHL minutes. He's both crap defensively and undisciplined. He's a straight-up liability when he's on the ice. I wouldn't be shocked if neither White nor Poirier received qualifying offers from their new teams this summer. And that is pretty much the reason why Jeremie Poirier, despite being ranked as the top offensive defenseman in 2020, still went in the third round in 2020. The guy just really had problems when he wasn't on the puck and in his own zone. That was evident in the QMJHL. It seems like it's evident now in the AHL. Even Flames fans are going out there and calling him out for that specific element of his game. Another reply says, I was literally just thinking, hey, I haven't heard much about Poirier lately after that Flames prospect post. I hope he's able to move the depth chart and maybe get a better chance at establishing himself in the NHL with Dallas. Meanwhile, the Stars, the folks on their subreddit, are going out there and saying that, yeah, this is the exact kind of defenseman the Flames were interested in sending over. You don't really see one-for-one trades. Blockbuster, what does it mean? Someone tell me how to feel about this. You should feel whelmed. For those wondering for some context, here's his pro career. Poirier had a whole bunch of stuff going on for him in the AHL. 3-year contract for a one-move contract. There are moves for Robertson happening. Okay, that is definitely not the way I thought that people would perceive this trade. White, wasn't he scratched for a while now? He was playing Friday night. Looks like they traded slightly up. Sounds like all offense and no defense type defenseman for Poirier at age 23. Jim Nill hates right-handed defensemen confirmed. I don't know, it's marginal, guys, so who cares? But right D is still a big weakness in the organizational depth chart, so swapping a righty for a lefty seems weird. Unless, of course, the Dallas Stars just want to take advantage of the offensive profile that Poirier has. At the end of the day, this is a pretty big change of scenery for a guy that once upon a time was seen as a decent bet to becoming an NHL power play quarterback. Nowadays, it doesn't seem like that path is really laid out for him, but you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section either way. How do you feel about the Poirier for Gavin White trade? I know we focused mostly on Poirier in this video, but Gavin White is getting another opportunity as well to try to do something else for his NHL career. They were both born in the same year, 2002, but Gavin White did go undrafted for a season at least, because he just didn't have that super impressive offensive profile in the OHL. I mean, he didn't even play in his draft-eligible year. But ultimately, this is a nice change of scenery trade for both of these guys. Poirier definitely has the higher ceiling, but both at 23, both AHL guys. White was an ECHL guy last year. It doesn't look too optimistic for NHL superstardom, but we'll see. Thoughts in the comment section below if you're a Flames fan, a Stars fan. How do you feel about this swap? Let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.